Hey everyone. So in the last video we went over of what's just the basics of Power BI, opening it up, loading data in, navigating around. Today we're going to focus more on the first step, which would be loading your data in, exploring that data a bit, and editing that data if necessary. So we're going to start from the loading phase again. So what you're going to want to do is open up your Power BI and then click on New Report. And when you're on this page, we're now going to go get our data, right? So how do we do that? Well, as we talked about in our last video, you could either go over here, and if it's an Excel file, you could click on this. If it's from a cloud server, you could click on this. And there's going to be, but there's a bunch of ways, right? There's a bunch of ways we could get our data and a bunch of sources we can get it from. So if we click on here, get data from another source, you can see, and I did this last time, it's going to open up this panel. Now we could go here, we know we're going to be loading in a CSV file, but you can also look at your banner up here, and this is typically how I navigate through Power BI, where you have your home, insert, modeling, view tab, right? You have all your tabs. And on your home tab, you're going to have this get data button and it'll match the functionality. It'll do the same exact thing as pressing down here, right? So they're the same exact thing. Whichever one you want to do, go for it. And we're going to click on the CSV here. We're going to click connect. And you can see that my file explorer popped up where now we're going to click on Netflix titles because this is our data in a CSV format. Your data might be in an Excel format, depending how you saved it. If you want to see how to get data, you could go to the previous video. I'll link it below. So here, you could see we have a preview of our data. It's going to tell you the origin of the data. I guess it's the formatting depending on where you live. I don't know too much about that. How it's separated, so CSV comma separated file. Let's let's ignore those things, right? It, Power BI will do a good job of taking care of that stuff for you most of the time. So I wouldn't even really worry about that. But what you'll see down here is you'll get a preview of what your data looks like. And you could see with Netflix, we get things that make sense, like movie, TV show, the title of the movie or TV show, who was in it, the country that I don't know, released in, made in, I don't know, doesn't tell you, rating of the movie, so on and so forth. Now we can go ahead and load in our data, and if you load in your data, you could start building your graphs immediately, right? Start building your dashboard immediately. But what's best practice is really to jump into this transform data, and we're going to be able to do two things here. We're going to be able to edit our data, and we're going to be able to explore the data. So when we talk about exploratory data analysis or looking at the data in more detail, this is this will give you a really good opportunity to understand the data we're looking into. So what do I mean by that? Right? And I guess let's just take a look at an example, right? How would we explore the data? So what I first like to do is I like to explore it based on the entire data set. It'll default to this top 1,000 rows. And to get a high level sense of what your data is, it's not a bad idea. The load times may become out of hand if you have, you know, hundreds of thousands or millions or billions of rows. You probably won't have billions. Maybe someone has billions. Anyways, you're going to want to come to this based on entire data set. I at least think so. And I also want to turn on a couple things. So, uh, you know what? I'll show you this, but let's not even get into that right now. Let's put it aside. What I was going to show you is if you go over here into view and you press click column profile, this is sort of my favorite thing to look at, so I'm going to keep it here. It gives you a bunch of stuff about the data. So we know that one of them is a movie, one of them is a TV show, and one of them is a William Wyler. Okay, well, I don't think there's any entertainment type called William Wyler. So that's suspicious, right? And this is why we do exploration to find things that look off with our data before we start just going and using it. So this is a show ID, and usually your table will have a unique identifier, and that's exactly what this is. It's a random number that's different from all the other numbers in the data set to give you a unique identifier for a certain row, right? So that's why that show ID is there, and you can verify that by like there's 800 rows, 8,800 rows, and and all of them are distinct, right? Which means none of them match. There's no matching numbers here. So that's going to be something interesting we're going to want to investigate. Here, this will tell us all of our titles, right? We probably have 8,800 different titles. I guess it's possible for a TV show and a movie to have the same title, but probably not. We'll see who our directors are. Some of those will be repeated, like this guy, Rajiv Shilaka, has 19 directorial credits. So you could do more exploring. We could go to our dates. Doesn't want to do that for whatever reason. Looks like there's an error. So that's definitely something interesting to see. See, so we're already learning about our data, and this is a great time to start planning of what's the story here. Whoa, look at this. United States, look at the value distribution. Well, that's telling you something. That so look for your stories here. Another thing we're going to want to do is make sure that our data types are matching the column values. What do I mean by that? Let's make sure that if this is okay, let's not do that. It says it's a text value, right? And if you don't know anything about data types, you should go look into that. It takes 5 minutes, 10 minutes to look at, and it's good to know for coding and for this low code platform. So we want to make sure that all of our data types match up with this, which is text, I believe. ABC text. You could see down here. It's text. Title, okay, text, that's good. Director, text, that's good. How do I know this is text? Well, it's words. So again, I'm not going to go over data types, but that would all be covered in data types. And how do I know it's text on here? Well, ABC, I could see that symbol is representative of text. All right. So, okay, looks good here. Like here, my dates. Well, should those be text? What if I change those to text? It's totally different. We're going to have trouble on the back end. So if your dates are in text format, put those in put those in put them in date format. Here we see our numbers. They're not in text. They're in numerical format, right? Whole number. Okay? So there you go. That is a decent description of what I typically use Power Query for. You might want to, I'm not going to get into every single instance here, but and you know what? I'm going to end it there because I think if you do those two things with your data, you will be better off when we load it in to our dashboard environment. So how do we do that, right? After we've checked our data types, we've looked down here, explored our data. Let's let's actually continue on, which is crazy to say, but I want to talk about two more things. This up here, what is this? Because this is part of the data exploration Power Query, and these over here. So valid, error, empty. See? And if we didn't go over this, we would have forgotten. So we see there's like an empty value here. Like, why is there an empty value? So let's go. Let's see why. And let's go. Um, how would I just see the empties? Contains nothing. Let's see. No, that didn't want to do it. Maybe I filtered that value out. Let's see. Load more. All right, let's investigate this William Wyler. Okay, what is going on here? Okay. So William Wyler, that could be a director. United States, that's probably not a director. Like, so what is the United States? Oh, country. Okay, well, 1944. Here's a date and cast. Like, the date should be over here. So something got screwed up in the file. Now, we could go ahead and fix this. I would probably go back to the CSV file or the data source. But for this instance, it's two records, right? It's two records out of how many? Let's clear that. So it's two records out of 8,800. So we're moving two records. For this data, I'm going to make the call that it's not important. Sometimes it's not your call to make, but in this instance, I'm just going to get rid of those. And then I remembered over here we had errors, so I'm going to go back here. The errors are gone. Okay. How do we see blank? Equals blank. It won't let me do that. I do not know how to find it on there. But we see there's one here. Here we go. So let's go to the blank value or null value. Let's see why this is occurring. The Memphis story of a. So this could be where the screw up has started. I'm going to keep this because it still has a movie type. It has a type of movie and a partial title. So we might be able to not measure it by some things, but the data is still correct. So let's put that back in. And then I think we just need to load in the data at that point. No, we see right here, there's an error. So what do you think this error could be? Well, let's go through the data here. And I'm just going to press load more. Here it is. We couldn't convert to number. Well, what? What couldn't convert? Copy. Huh, it doesn't tell me which one. A release here, though, we're not going to be adding them up, so we could probably just convert that to text, because think about that. You're not going to add up the years, so they don't need to be in number format. Let's see if that fixed the error. No, it didn't. Really interesting. Okay. We could always, let's see. Ah, here. 40 minutes. Wow, this data. But this is what you're going to find. This is why it's good to do this stuff. Here's William Wyler. I thought we filtered out William Wyler. Why is this guy coming back? Oh, because I see. We got rid of the filter, and that deleted the filter over here. So let's get rid of this one again. And then we will change this to text, which it kept that. And you can see now no errors. There are some empties. We investigated that, and that was fine. And the last thing we could do is come down here, and you could look at column statistics. Really good to look at this. We get some stuff that doesn't make sense, like a min movie, max TV show. Okay, so we see some stuff that doesn't make sense on first glance, but min min movie just means ABC, the first one to be first in the alphabet, last one to be in the alphabet. There's two distinct values, meaning there's a movie and there's TV show. So even though we know there's 8,800 records, they're all movie or TV show. So two distinct records. Over here, 8,800 records, they're all distinct and they're all unique. Oh, so what's the difference? Distinct means how many different values are there. So if we jump back here, we can see there's movie and there's TV show. So if we jump back to our titles, just like there's movie, TV show, there's Dick Johnson is Dead, Blood and Water, Ganglands. I'm sorry if you're under the age of 18. Jailbirds, New Orleans, Coda Factory, right? And we can keep going. And it's the same amount of count because none of them have the same title, which we'd expect. Now, what's unique mean? Unique means how many records only showed up one time, right? So we could see here in TV show, there's 0 unique values because movie showed up multiple times and TV showed up multiple times. So none of them have only appeared one time. So there's no unique values. Unique values think appear one time. Over here, they're all unique. They all only appear one time. And there's 8,800 versions of them. Right? So there is a distinction there. And if I recommend you go look up the text of that because that is important to know. Maybe not when you're first starting out, but it is cool. Like that's a cool challenge to go do something like that. Go learn on your own. Okay. So let's try to find another one. Okay, here. So 4,500 different values, right? 4,528 different values. Rajiv is one, Raul is one, Marcus Raboy is one. But then we see there's 3,600 that only appeared one time. So Rajiv isn't one of those because Rajiv has 19. So he didn't appear one time, he appeared 19 times. So he's not unique. But someone like group by, and I can't see the bottom of the bottom, but all of these are not unique because they have more than one record in the database. How many are empty? 2,600. And then we see the min and the max. And that makes more sense if you do a date. The first date is 2008, the last date is 2021. So go explore and see what you could find. Rewatch this video if you need. Go watch another video. Don't rewatch this video. Go watch another video on Power Query and get their perspective. Um all right. Thank you.